We are now on the record. My name is Kevin Marth, the legal videographer representing Dalco Reporting. This is the videotaped statement of Miss Eva DePasquale in the matter of DePasquale versus DePasquale. The statement is being taken at the Westchester Center for Nursing and Rehabilitation, located in Mount Vernon, New York. The date is April 28th, 2010. The time is 5:02 p.m. The court reporter is Michelle Ambrosino, also representing Dalco Reporting. Counsel, would you please introduce yourself for the record, and the court reporter will swear in the witness.
My name is Kenneth Ellman. I'm an assistant in the law office of Fang Lee. Fang Lee is the attorney for Mrs. Eva DePasquale.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give today is...
We are now on the record. My name is Kevin Marth, the legal videographer representing Dalco Reporting. This is the videotaped statement of Miss Eva DePasquale in the matter of DePasquale versus DePasquale. The statement is being taken at the Westchester Center for Nursing and Rehabilitation, located in Mount Vernon, New York. The date is April 28th, 2010. The time is 5:02 p.m. The court reporter is Michelle Ambrosino, also representing Dalco Reporting. Counsel, would you please introduce yourself for the record, and the court reporter will swear in the witness.
My name is Kenneth Ellman. I'm an assistant in the law office of Fang Lee. Fang Lee is the attorney for Mrs. Eva DePasquale.
Yeah.
Ma'am, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give today is the whole truth, nothing but the truth? Be God.
Mrs. DePasquale,
Yeah.
do you know where you are?
Where I am?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Could you please tell us where you are?
Westchester Nursing Home, 10 Claremont Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York, 10550.
And what is your full name?
Okay.
Mrs. Eva DePasquale.
I'm going to ask you some questions, and while I'm discussing this with you and asking you questions, it's very important that you feel comfortable and only say what you believe is right. Nobody is going to judge you. Your answer should be the answer that you want to say, not anybody else.
Yes.
If I say something and you don't understand it, you just tell me to repeat it. And if I say something that makes no sense, you tell me it makes no sense to you. If you have any questions to clarify anything, feel free to ask anything you want. I'm going to show you some documents, and I'm going to ask you some questions about them. I'm showing you here what's been marked as Respondent Exhibit Number 1. And perhaps you can take a look at it, and if you want to, you can ask me any questions. Have you ever seen it before?
That's all right. Okay. All right, let us all go and get down there.
Does it have your signature at the bottom of the page?
Yes.
And at the top of the page, that's the very top, are you able to read what it says? The first line at the very top? If you want to, I can point the line out to you. Oh, sorry.
You mean this part?
This top line.
Durable general power of attorney?
And do you remember signing such a thing?
Yes.
Now, I ask you to turn to the last page of the document.
All right, let's go look on
Okay.
Here, one more page. It's a little hard sometimes. And does that last page have your signature on it?
Yes, it does.
Are you able to see if there's a date on there?
May the 30th, 2007, at Mount Vernon, New York.
And did you sign that document then?
Yes, I did.
And was that a power of attorney to Tom, your son, and Karen, your daughter?
Yes.
Did there come a time that you changed your power of attorney?
Yes, I did.
Okay. May I have that back, please? Thank you. I'll leave it right here if you need to look at it. I'm going to show you what's been marked by the reporter as Respondent's Exhibit Number 2. Please take a look at it and I'll ask you a question. Have you ever seen that exhibit, Respondent's Exhibit Number 2 before?
Yes, I did.
And does it have your signature on it?
Yes.
And can you tell me what your understanding is, what that did, that sheet of paper?
Well, he wants me to declare that I'm incompetent, and he wants to have the ability to do whatever he wants to do with me and for me.
Who are you talking about?
Tom's.
And so did you then sign something relating to the previous power of attorney?
Yes.
And can you tell me what this is then, to your understanding?
Well, I said I don't want him as durable power of attorney, and besides that, he got in touch with my daughter Barbara. The two of them got together, and they have the same lawyer, and they're trying to do these things by not consulting me without understanding, and I no longer trust him.
Now, when you signed that document you're holding, Exhibit Number 2, did anyone tell you you had to sign it?
No.
Is this something you did because you thought it was the right thing to do?
Yes, I did.
Did there come a time that you became aware that Tom had taken money out of a checking account?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell me whose checking account that was?
It was from my father's, or my husband.
Your husband's checking account. Would that be then Tom's father?
Also, yes.
And when he took that money out of the checking account, had he asked your permission?
No.
Do you remember how much he took out?
I think $30,000. That was to buy his own home. And he's done more than that up until today. He bought another home across the street on Valley Avenue. in Yonkers, New York.
So your memory is that he took a lot of money out of that account.
He continues to do it, too.
You think he still might be doing
Yeah.
it? But you do know he was doing it at one time.
Yes.
And you don't think he had your permission or your husband's permission to take that?
No, I don't think, he just went ahead.
Now, did he ever explain to you why he took the money?
He said he needed money to make repairs on the house that he bought down the street from his.
And did he explain to you why he wanted to make those repairs?
Well, he figured they were going to move into it.
When you say they, who do you think he wanted to move into the house?
My daughter and her 4 sons.
Your daughter meaning which daughter?
Karen.
Karen and her 4 sons? And was there any discussion as to where Joseph would live?
Joseph lives upstate.
No, I mean,
Or you mean my husband?
Your husband, yes.
No, I guess he figured that he would move in with him and maybe me too. I don't know.
In this house he was getting.
Yeah.
And did he get your permission to have this house for you and the family to live in?
No, he bought this house without me knowing it. And then when I heard that he had to be taking money out of the bank to make repairs on that house because it's an old house and it needs a lot of repairs. It needs electricity put in. And besides what work he could do, he had to hire all these people to come in and repair it. And it's still not done after 2 years.
And you're talking about some house he bought that you don't own.
Yes.
Did you ever tell him that you wanted the money back?
He doesn't have the money to give me back.
So you did discuss this with him?
Yes, he said he was just borrowing it.
To your knowledge, did he ever pay it back?
No, he never did.
Now, did there come a time that you became aware Tom had brought a court action against you?
Yes.
And may I see that exhibit you're holding, please?
Okay, it's gotta go inside, beginning. All right, bring it inside, bring it over. One.
After you signed this exhibit, the Respondent's Exhibit Number 2, which you just looked at, am I correct? That's the one you handed me just now. After you signed that, did you then sign a new power of attorney for your daughter Karen?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we,
And if I show you this here, please take a look at it. It's marked as Exhibit Number 3, Respondent's Exhibit Number 3. And you can take a look at that, and if you have any questions, maybe you can ask me or explain to us what you think
Okay.
you're looking at.
Come on, let's go. Yes, sir. You got him. Okay, we'll get him a call, son. I'll be amongst them. Yeah, we'll get him. Oh, we do. Sure. Who the heck is that? Yeah, no.
he allowed Karen to do everything.
Was this a power of attorney, this one?
I think so, yes.
And could you look at the bottom of the page? Does it have your signature?
Yes, it does.
Could you look at the last page and tell me if it has your signature?
Yes, it does.
Do you remember signing it?
Yes.
And did this power of attorney take the place of the old one?
No, it's the same thing.
Is there any difference between the one you're holding and the one you looked at, number 1?
Yeah? Yeah.
That one doesn't have, this one doesn't have Tom's name on it. It just has Karen's name.
The new one.
Yes.
Is that the one, if you look at the front page of the new one, is there an exhibit number on that? You can turn to the front page of the document you're holding.
Yes.
And is that number 3? Has a tag on it
Oh,
at the
yes.
bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the new one then?
I guess so.
Is that your understanding?
Yeah.
And when you signed that new one,
Okay, let
it did not have Tom's name on it?
It said Thomas was revoked.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
They revoked Thomas.
And is this what you wanted to do?
Yes, I wanted Karen to have full authority to do whatever she wanted to take money out of the bank if she needed it,
was trying to get rid of it.
Life insurance or whatever.
You wanted Karen to have that
Yeah.
power. Did you want Tom to continue to have it?
No.
So when you made this change, you understood what you were doing?
Yes.
Do you have any questions today about whether this was the right thing to do or not?
Well, it still stands the same as far as I go. I still want Karen.
Did there come a time that
Okay,
you can hand that back to me, these documents, if you wish, and anything you need to look at, you can just ask for. Is that all right? Did there come a time that you met a doctor who gave you certain tests here in this nursing home?
Yep.
Do you remember?
Dr. Sharma.
Dr. Sharma, you said?
Yeah.
And you remember him giving you some tests?
Yes.
I now hand you what's been marked Respondent's Exhibit number 4. Now,
Coming forward.
what I'm asking you is, why did Dr. Sharma give you this test, if you know?
I guess everything about me. If I knew who I was, where I was, about my son Thomas and my daughter Barbara, and he gave me extensive. He was there about an hour and a half, asking me all kinds of questions that I answered for him truthfully.
And the document you're holding then is, could you turn to the last page? And the page in front of that, if you could look at. Does that, at the bottom of that page, does it have a signature of someone?
Ravel Sharma, P-S-Y-D.
Is that the doctor who gave you the test?
Yeah, licensed psychologist.
And you do remember that then?
Yes, I do.
Well, I gotta go out here. I'll get down there.
Do you have any questions about that test?
The lady is here.
I was just looking over some of the things he asked me that day.
You're right. Who's the lady?
If you look on the front page, I'd like to call your attention to a line there. And if you notice, there's a line there that's highlighted. Could you please read that?
Hello, Ma.
You mean the present evaluation? Is that what you want?
What's that?
I didn't hear what you
The present evaluation?
Yeah, there's a highlighted
Yeah,
line.
the resident showed average functioning of most cognitive domains examined. She
Very good.
performed in the average range for a somatic working memory task that required recall of 4 unrelated words. Her attentional abilities were in the average range. She was oriented to person, place, and time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I show you what's been marked as Respondent's Exhibit number 5.
Oh, I like that.
And
Okay.
I ask you if you've ever seen it before.
So we can't do anything. How come some? All right, I'm going to do this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll get to see it. Yeah.
We're just going to take a 1-minute break off the record.
We're going off the record at 5:21 p.m. We're going back on the record at 5:34 p.m.
Mrs. DePasquale, you have in front of you what's been marked. You can see the number on the bottom of the page.
Yes,
And what exhibit is it?
5.
Have you ever seen that before?
Poor baby. Yeah, we gotta go there, you know.
Yes.
Okay, we have to.
What do you think it is?
We can't go with these big ones.
Barbara and Thomas
No,
want to take my,
all right. All right.
want to make me sound like I'm incapacitated. I don't know who I am. I don't know what to talk about. They just want to take me over for money, I guess. I don't know.
Have you heard the expression that they would like to be your guardian?
Yes, and I don't want them to be my guardian.
We're going back on the record at 5:34 p.m.
Mrs. DePasquale, you have in front of you what's been marked. You can see the number on the bottom of the page.
Yes,
And what exhibit is it?
5.
Have you ever seen that before?
Poor baby. Yeah, we gotta go there, you know.
Yes.
Okay, we have to.
What do you think it is?
We can't go with these big ones.
Barbara and Thomas
No,
want to take my,
all right. All right.
want to make me sound like I'm incapacitated. I don't know who I am. I don't know what to talk about. They just want to take me over for money, I guess. I don't know.
Have you heard the expression that they would like to be your guardian?
Yes, and I don't want them to be my guardian.
Are you able to make decisions for yourself?
Yes, I am.
And you just previously discussed the psychologist who came and did a testing of you, right?
Yes, Dr. Sharma.
And is it your understanding that Dr. Sharma said you can make your own decisions?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Now, this is a big document, and I'm not going to go over the whole thing with you, but I'm going to turn it to a page here and ask you some questions. And if you're able to, you'll answer them, and you'll say whatever you wish.
Yeah. We were a little bit going
So,
too fast.
if you look at the bottom of the page that's open to you, does it have a number?
Before.
And you're looking at page 4 then?
Yes.
And I go back to the cover page, and I ask you if you see where it has a number here and a word before it.
Yes.
Can you tell me what that word is?
Index.
And does it have an index number?
Yes,
What is that index?
6974 and
Yeah.
-10.
Okay, could you please say that again? What's the first number?
6
And then go ahead.
974 and -10.
Okay, and if we turn back to that page 4 of that document. Have you ever seen this before?
Oh, this working good. All right. Yeah. All righty. All right, we'll find him. Well, that's okay. You might find it for us. I'm not gonna, anyway. See who that lady is, you know?
would it be okay if I asked you a question about something on page 4?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we look at page 4, the top of it, do you see the top line? It starts with on or about.
All right, see what happens.
Would you be able to read that if I asked you to?
Yes.
Could you tell me, starting with the word on or about at the top of the page, would you be
Yes.
able to read it now?
Yes.
Please read it if you can.
On or about April 24, 2009, Karen DePasquale executed a deed transferring ownership of the home owned by Eva and Joseph DePasquale located at 36 Linden Street, Yonkers, New York. She transferred ownership of the home over to her son, Connor Stokes. The deed was executed by Karen DePasquale as attorney in fact for Eva DePasquale and as attorney in the fact for Joseph DePasquale. The actions of Karen DePasquale were unilateral and inappropriate, despite the fact that she and her brother Thomas DePasquale were named jointly on the durable general powers of attorney. She did not consult with Thomas or seek to have him join in these conveyances.
Okay, you read quite a bit, and do you feel you understood what you just read?
Yes.
So I have some questions for you. Did you know that Karen executed a deed transferring the house?
Yes.
And did you know who she transferred it to?
She transferred it to her son Connor.
And did you know about this and understand what was going on?
Yes, I do.
And did Karen have your permission to do this?
Yes, she did.
Did you tell Karen to do
Yes.
it? And is this what you and your husband Joseph wanted?
Yes.
And you read further in there where it has some other comments that you would, something that you would like done? I believe if I point it out to you, maybe you can see that there, starting with Eva. What does that say?
Eva DePasquale also was not consulted and did not authorize this conveyance. She wishes her ownership interest in her home to be returned to her.
Now let me ask you if I can. Is that true what that sentence says?
I don't want to transfer it to me.
You knew about this transfer? And do you want it to stay in the name of Connor?
Yeah.
Does Connor help take care of your husband?
Yes, he does.
And how do you know that?
I know that because I know he was living with him.
Did you want Connor to help take care of your husband?
Yes, I did.
Does Karen, your daughter, help take care of your husband?
He does.
Is this what you wanted?
Yes.
Is that why you put the house in Connor's name?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it because you wanted to help Connor and Karen?
Yes.
To help take care of your husband?
Yes.
If you came to court and you were asked what you want done with that house, what would you tell the court?
Okay.
To keep it there so my husband could use it.
Keep it in whose name?
Connor's name.
Okay.
And you wouldn't want to change that?
No.
I can't do
So is the statement in those papers on page 4 that you just read, is that true or untrue what they wrote there?
No, it wasn't.
It's not true.
Not true.
You would tell the judge then what about what's written on page 4?
That Barbara Sudel and my son Thomas had the idea that they could take over my guardianship, take all my rights, and I don't want that. I don't want them.
Well, thank you very much. May I have that document?
All right, I'll go into this. Okay, I got the place over.
I want to ask you, you know that there's a proceeding against you in the court, which you just looked at, am I correct?
Yeah.
Did you know they also brought one against your husband, Joseph?
Yes.
I show you what's been marked as Respondent Exhibit 6. Ask you if you've ever seen it before, the document.
Yes, I've seen this before.
What do you think it is?
Barbara and Thomas want to more or less control my actions and where I live and what I do.
And is this document here
Yeah, sort of.
relate to your husband also?
Yes, it does.
Now, this is a big document. I'm not going to ask you questions about every page. I'm turning to a particular page. There's a page open now before you. At the bottom of the page, do you see a number?
3.
Page 3. And what I forgot to ask you on the front of the page, do you see over here a number?
Yes.
Can you read what that says?
Says index number 697510. That means this year.
And the name of this document relates to which, you or your husband?
Joseph DePasquale.
Okay, so now we can turn to page 3 if you'd like. I'll help you with that. Actually, let's see.
4.
4, yes. Looks like there's two different documents here, so I'm glad. Okay. Now, are we on page 3?
Yes.
And do you see a paragraph 13?
Mm-hmm.
Could you read that paragraph 13, please?
Plan. Joseph DePasquale is presently receiving inadequate care. He requires the services of a professional caregiver to assist him with all activities of daily living.
Can I ask you a question now?
Yes.
Do you understand that sentence?
Yes.
Do you believe your husband Joseph is getting inadequate care?
I don't believe that. He's getting adequate care.
Very good, thank you for that. And I ask you if you could look at this here, starting with on page 3, the word however.
However, excuse me.
Would you like some water?
No, thank you. Joseph was not receiving adequate care and was not being inadequately supervised, given that he suffers from dementia. Mm-hmm. Joseph was not receiving proper nutrition and hygiene. He was often left alone because Connor was either not home, or was sleeping or in another part of the house. As a result of a complaint being filed with the Adult Protective Services, Joseph has been moved to the residence of his daughter, Karen DePasquale, located at 28 Chestnut Street, Yonkers, New York.
All right, maybe you could stop. Let me ask you, did you understand what you just read?
Yes.
Now, do you believe your husband Joseph is not getting proper nutrition?
Yes, he is.
He is getting proper
Yes.
nutrition? Do you believe he's not getting proper hygiene?
Yes, he is.
He is getting proper.
Yes.
Do you see any problem with the care being given to your husband Joseph?
No, I think it's perfect.
Now, you read something about the Department of Social Services in there, am I correct?
Yes.
Do you remember where someone made a complaint to the Department of Social Services that your husband Joseph was being poorly cared for?
Yes.
I'm going to take this document, move it over here, the exhibit number, Respondent's Exhibit 6, and I'm going to hand you what's been marked Respondent Exhibit 7. And I ask you to take a look at it for a moment.
Where's Mary at? Huh? Mary?
can you tell me, is that a letter?
Yes.
And if you look at the top of the page of that letter, does it have the name of who wrote that letter, the very top of the page?
Westchester Government,
Westchester Government?
COM, whatever that
Okay,
is.
yeah, that's COM. That's the way they contact them on the internet. Now, does that make sense to you? You may have heard of the internet, right?
Yes.
If you look over here, if you could read that letter, by the way, does it have a date on it?
January the 27th, 2010.
And can you tell me, if you don't mind, read the letter? I would ask you if you could read the letter, starting with who it's addressed to and go down.
The letter is addressed to Joseph DePasquale, 36 Linden Street, Yonkers, New York, 10703. A request for adult protective services has been reviewed by this office. Excuse me. In accordance with Social Services Law 473, we find that you are currently eligible to receive protective services for adults, not eligible to receive protective services for adults.
Now, I ask you, you just read two sentences, am I correct?
Yes,
One of them has a check mark in front of it and one does not.
yes.
The one that has the check mark in front of it, could you read that?
Check mark. Not eligible to receive protective services and services for adults due to the fact that you have another system or person willing and able to assist in a responsible manner. Information collected during our assessment which identifies you or your family is confidential. If you are not satisfied with this decision, you have a right to ask for a fair hearing. If you wish to have a fair hearing, you or a representative must make your request within 60 days. You may do so by telephoning 1-518-474-8781 or by writing to New York State Department of Social Services, Post Office Box 1930, Albany, New York 12201. Or you may fax a request for a hearing to 518-473-6735, or you may access the computer website at www.otda State New York.
Okay, so
United
now you
States.
understand this letter. Do
Yes.
you understand it? Let me ask you that. Do you feel you understand the letter?
Yes,
And do you think the Department of Social Services said there was a problem with your husband, Joseph, or there was not a problem?
it was not a problem.
All right. May I have that? Thank you very much. I'm going to show you a document marked Respondent number 8. And I'm going to ask you now, it's a legal document, might be a little complicated, but if you can read the top of it, if you have any questions in the top of the document, feel free to ask.
This indenture is made the 24th day of April 2009 by Karen DePasquale, attorney in fact, and Joseph DePasquale and Eva DePasquale, residing at 36 Linden Street, Yonkers, New York, 10701, by Karen DePasquale, attorney in fact, resident at 28 Chestnut Street, Yonkers, New York, 10701.
Okay, let me ask you a question now about this. Do you understand what a deed is, a deed to a house?
Yes,
Now, you testified earlier here today that you knew the house was transferred to someone else, and that you and your husband knew about this.
Yes.
And could you answer that? I don't think we heard your answer. Oh, okay. Yes, you did know. And is that the deed that you understand was the transfer?
yes,
And does it have the name of who the house was transferred to?
yes.
Okay. Do you see a name in the top here?
Excuse me.
It's okay.
Connor Stokes, residing at 28 Chestnut Street, Yonkers, New York.
And is that who you wanted the house to go to?
Yes.
Thank you very much. We're going to go off the record for a moment.
We're going off the record at 5:53 p.m.
You look like you could use...
We are going back in the record at 5:54 p.m.
Mrs. DePasquale, I'm going to, some people are going to sit next to you, and I'm going to ask you if you know who they are. Mrs. DePasquale, there's a man sitting next to you.
Yes.
Do you know who that man is?
That's Andre Stokes, my grandson.
I asked the stenographer to now swear the person identified by the witness.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give today is the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
I direct a question to Mr. Person identified as Mr. Andre Stokes by... You could use...
We are going back in the record at 5:54 p.m.
Mrs. DePasquale, I'm going to, some people are going to sit next to you, and I'm going to ask you if you know who they are. Mrs. DePasquale, there's a man sitting next to you.
Yes.
Do you know who that man is?
That's Andre Stokes, my grandson.
I asked the stenographer to now swear the person identified by the witness.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give today is the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
I direct a question to Mr. Person identified as Mr. Andre Stokes by the witness. Please state your true name.
Andre Stokes.
And where do you reside?
28 Chestnut Street. Yonkers,
And what
New
is your
York.
relationship to the witness, Mrs. Eva DePasquale?
This is my grandmother.
And Mrs. DePasquale, do you see your grandson often?
Yes.
And you know something about his life?
Yes.
And how would you characterize, how would you explain your relationship with your grandson if someone asked you?
Well, I could go visit them at her house, with their house, or they come visit me here.
And do you feel you have a good relationship or not a good relationship?
No, it's a good relationship. I love them all.
Thank you. Now, Mrs. DePasquale, there's a gentleman sat next to you, am I correct?
Yes.
Do you know who that gentleman is?
Yes, that's my grandson, Connor Stokes.
I ask that the reporter swear in the person identified by the witness.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give today is the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
You've just been identified by the witness. Could you please state your true name?
Connor Stokes,
And where do you reside?
28 Chestnut Street.
What is your relationship to this witness, Mr. Stokes?
She's my grandmother.
Mrs. DePasquale, could you please explain your relationship with this witness, this person sitting next to you in the chair?
This is Connor Stokes, my grandson.
Do you see him much?
Yes.
How would you explain your relationship with him? Good, bad?
Very good, very good, very good.
Now, is this the person who you had your house transferred to?
Yes, too.
And do you wanted your house transferred to him?
Yes.
To your knowledge, this is what your husband also wanted, your husband Joseph?
Yes.
You had discussed this with your husband Joseph before he got sick?
Pardon?
You had discussed with your husband Joseph
Yes.
what would happen with the house before he got sick.
Yes.
To your knowledge, did your husband Joseph have a close relationship with Connor?
Yes, he did. He lived with his grandfather.
And are you happy with the way Connor takes care of your husband, Joseph?
Yes.
Mrs. DePasquale, a man just sat down next to you. Do you know who he is?
It's Ryan Stokes, my grandfather, my grandson.
I ask the person who just sat down next to Mrs. DePasquale to be sworn.
Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give today is the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I ask you to please identify yourself, sir.
I'm Ryan Stokes.
And what is your relationship with Mrs. DePasquale?
I'm her grandson.
Mrs. DePasquale, how would you explain your relationship with the gentleman sitting next to you?
My grandson Ryan, he lives at 28 Chestnut Street, and I could go visit them at her house, his house, well, my daughter's house and them, or he comes up here to visit me.
And do you feel you have a relationship with him?
Yes.
Do you feel that he's close to you?
Yes.
And are you aware that he also has a relationship with your husband, Joseph?
Yes.
And do you know if he helps take care of Joseph or
Yes,
not?
he does very nice care of him.
Thank you.
You're over there?
Have a seat here, sir.
Hello, Ma.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good.
Sit down.
Okay. Okay.
Give me a kiss.
Yeah, I feel like going with Mama.
Give me a kiss.
Yeah. I have to go. Sorry, I got it. What goes on?
So,
Give me a kiss. You don't love me.
Huh?
Give me a kiss.
Yeah.
Give me a kiss.
He doesn't?
You.
All right, we have to find out, see who the heck's how.
Mrs. DePasquale, is that your husband?
Yes.
That's me.
Your husband suffers from medical disease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what the diagnosis might have been?
Yeah. That's it.
Do you, would the word Alzheimer's disease refresh your recollection?
Well, it has a shorter name.
Well, I could
Dementia.
go off for a
Dementia.
little while.
Dementia.
Is this the gentleman who's being taken care of by your daughter Karen?
Yes.
Is this
Better
the
look
gentleman
this
who's
up,
also being taken care of by your grandsons?
Yes.
And he's your husband?
He
And
was good at the beginning. He was very good. All right.
does your husband visit you sometimes?
Yes.
Oh, certainly I do. It's all right.
Mr.
That's okay.
Mr. DePasquale, do you see your wife?
I don't
Sometimes you
think I
visit
would
her?
see her until later. Well, that's a fact. That's the way it is.
Do you
She'll
visit?
really go away with somebody, and she'll do it.
All right.
Yes. We'll
Well-
see her there today.
We're going to have your daughter, another person sit in that chair. Is that okay?
I think it is. How did you know?
All right,
Oh.
Mr. DePasquale.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh. No, it's all right.
Is that all right? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Where are we? Come on with me. Yeah. Boom. And it's kicked.
A person has just sat in a chair next to you, Mrs. DePasquale. Am I correct?
Pardon?
I say a person has just sat next to you in a chair?
Yes.
Do you know who that person is?
It's my daughter Karen.
I ask the reporter to please swear in the person who's sitting next to this witness, Mrs. DePasquale.
Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to give today is the whole
Okay.
truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
I ask you, miss, to please identify yourself.
Karen DePasquale.
And what is your relationship with Mrs. Eva DePasquale?
She's my mother.
Why are you putting so much for me?
Mrs. Eva DePasquale, you're aware that your daughter Karen has a power of attorney?
Yeah.
And you're aware that she transferred the house to your grandson Connor?
Yes.
Yes, I didn't hear that. Say that again.
Yes,
And is that what you wanted done?
that's what I wanted done.
I ask Mrs. Karen, are you using the name Stokes or DePasquale?
DePasquale.
DePasquale? Okay. I ask Mrs. Karen DePasquale, are you taking care of Joseph DePasquale?
Yes, I am.
And are you doing this because it's what you want to do?
I'm doing it because it's what I want to do and what my parents want me to do.
And you had discussed this with your mother?
Yes.
And that is your mother sitting next to you now?
Yes, it is.
And do you agree, Mrs. Eva DePasquale, with what your daughter Karen has just said?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Okay. Mrs. Eva DePasquale, do you have anything you'd like to say before we end this questioning?
Well, so far so good. I'm happy that Karen and Connor are taking my husband to live with her house, her apartment, and they give him showers every day in the week, and he gets 3 meals a day plus snacks in between breakfast and lunch, banana or something, and then between lunch and dinner he gets another snack. And if he wets, they change him. And they take good care of him. They let him come in and watch television with the boys, and they're very happy together.
And is it okay with you then that they also stay at your house that you gave Connor?
Yes,
And they stay there also? Does your husband also stay there with them, your husband
Yeah.
Joseph? Does Joseph then go back and forth between your house on Linden Street and Karen, your daughter's home?
28 Chestnut, right around the corner.
And he's able to stay one night at one house or another? Is that what you like?
Yes.
That I ask you, there's a document in front of you, a paper. Can you tell us what that is?
The Journal News,
Is there a date on it?
Wednesday, 28th of April.
Can you read me the headline under the Journal News?
Man admits abusing girl, 9 years of age.
Is there a headline underneath that?
Gas prices up, may not rise much.
Do you sometimes read the newspaper?
Sometimes.
I think we're going to end this session today. And is there anything further you would like to say again, I'm asking you? I thank you very much for being here, and I think it's wonderful you were able to be heard like this.
Thank you.
We're going to end the deposition now. Oh, I did have one thing before we end it. You understand that your attorney is Mr. Fengley?
Yes, I do.
You understand that I work for him, I'm not your attorney.
No, you're his assistant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are going off the record at 6:07 p.m.